During the presidential election, gender issues were one of the most contentious points leading up to the election day. There were heated debates over whether the structural discrimination still exists in South Korean society and whether or not the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family should be abolished. In fact, abolishing the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family was then candidate Yoon Suk Yeol's key campaign promise to young male voters in their 20s, those who believe the ministry favors women in policies and government initiatives. However, President Yoon did not include the abolishment of the ministry in his 110 national test, which was released during his first week of office. When questioned, Yoon and the ruling People Power Party said they still plan to keep the campaign promise. In early May, the PPP leadership proposed amendments to the Government Organization Act, which included abolishing the ministry. In late July, President Yoon asked for a roadmap to abolish the ministry shortly after his meeting with Mr. Kim Hyun-suk. The ministry has launched a task force to work on the plan to distribute its existing responsibilities, such as supporting single-parent families, providing child care services, and helping the victims of sexual crimes. Of course, there are logistical and legal challenges to abolishing or reforming a government agency. Even with the People Power Party gaining few more seats in the recent local election, the opposition Democratic Party still holds an overwhelming majority in the National Assembly. Therefore, this would be structurally very difficult, if not nearly impossible, for the ruling party. There will, however, be a National Assembly election 2024. This election will be crucial for President Yoon and both the ruling and the opposition parties, as it will decide who controls the National Assembly. Depending on the election result, the momentum for the government reforms could change. In the meantime, President Yoon did abolish the gender quota precedent set by previous administration, which was designed to appoint more women to presidential cabinet positions. Yoon argued that position should be strictly merit-based and not according to gender or regional distribution. South Korea already has very low numbers of women in political leadership positions, as well as in the public sector in general. Dismantling this gender quota will make it increasingly difficult to address gender inequalities at the policy level. South Korean women are one of the most educated population in the world. Yet, South Korea places the lowest in many gender equality indexes. The country has the largest gender wage gap and ranks the lowest on the Economist Glass Ceiling Index among OECD countries. South Korean women often leave the workforce to raise children and have difficulty returning, causing an M shape as opposed to U shape common among more advanced countries. With extremely high childcare costs, pressure and discrimination from employers, and lack of job security, many South Korean women reconsider having children or even getting married altogether. And we see this reflected in South Korea's low birth rate. These layers of social issues related to gender inequality in South Korea will affect South Korea's economy in the long term and will prevent the country from fully reaching its economic potential. As studies show, the disadvantages of South Korean women faced in society have real economic implications that will become increasingly visible as economic growth slows down. Prior to the pandemic, the IMF estimated that if Korea was able to boost female labor force participation to the level of male labor force participation by 2035, it would see real GDP growth of 7%. Of course, these issues cannot be solved overnight, and action by the government will be crucial to addressing many of these structural challenges. However, with an already low approval rate at the beginning of his term, President Yoon is under pressure to secure his support base and carry out campaign promises. In absence of political will on these social issues, the situation is not likely to improve much during Yoon's administration. As witnessed during the election, there will be an increased spotlight on Yoon's gender policy, both domestically and internationally. We will continue to see heated public debates on these issues until real change is achieved.